Joe is a basketball coach, empowered dad, and co-founder of Soma Sports Singapore. His passion for basketball and his willingness in sharing his knowledge continue to inspire others to push and be their best. Whether he's on or off the court, Joe gives everything, he does his all, and that is what makes him the inspiring individual that he is today.
Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of In Love With Me, where we feature inspiring individuals who will share their amazing stories. I am your host, Mafae Velasco, and for this series, our topic is being empowered during quarantine. For this episode, we have an empowered man, basketball, life coach, health enthusiast to motivate us to take action. So without further ado, let's welcome the amazing Joe Fish Payongayong. Hello, Joe.
Aloha.
How do I do, Joe?
Wow, thank you. That was a nice intro.
Yeah. So, Joe, you're in Singapore right now. How's everything over there? How's the family?
We just opened up phase 2 last Friday, and it was perfect timing because it was my 57th birthday. My wife and my 4th wedding anniversary, and Father's Day.
Belated happy birthday, happy anniversary, and happy Father's Day. And it's been, I guess, a great weekend for you because I did see your house that you guys are able to hang out now in, I guess, your pool area. I know I've heard Singapore is doing a lot better than us, but we did go through quarantine like you did. So before I ask you what you've been up to during the lockdown and quarantine period, can you share with everyone on how you are the empowered and inspiring man that you are today?
Wow. We always have to go back to our parents, yeah? We left the Philippines in 1969 of January, and I was 5 years old. My dad used to be a barrio captain for Pinagkaisahan right there in Makati. And so he was already, he already had that community sense in him, yeah? And then when we left to immigrate to San Francisco, fast forward, my mom started working in the community. And that was in the Soma, South of Market. And in South of Market, we had this community center called Kanikip. And the recreation center was there. They had a small gym. And then my mom's, she was a family health worker. And so her office and the medical office was connected with Kanikip in the same building. So she had that community sense in her, right? And my older brother, my late brother Gil, who just passed away October, sorry. He was working at the community center as a staff member, and I remember as a kid, I think I was like 7 when I started going to the center. He would take us on field trips, take us camping, and that's at the center. That's where we learned how to play all the sports because they provided after school program, study hall, cooking class, movie night. And then just learn all aspects of sports. And the population at the community center was mixed: Filipino, Black, Mexican, Samoan, the whole nine, and a few Caucasians. so really diverse. And so we're talking the 70s, yeah. So 70s, good time growing up in San Francisco, going to school. Where again, same thing, diversity, so much diversity, inner city kids. And I always describe Singapore how it was back in San Francisco in the 70s. Safe, clean, reliable public transportation, right? Because we rode the buses everywhere. You know, and BART came in 1979. So you know, sports was a big part. Culture was a big part. Never forgot our Tagalog Filipino culture growing, even though we grew up in the States. Remember now, 69 all the way to you know, I left USA in 2012, but we ate Filipino food, we hung out, and we talked Tagalog, and you know, the core was always Filipino. And growing up in the States, well, we also assimilated to how it was to be an American citizen. Yeah. So high school, played sports in high school, basketball, and then my senior year, I realized that I was still too small to play varsity, and the guys were getting bigger and stronger. So I stopped playing basketball, but I got involved in student government, and I also got involved in yearbook. I was a sports editor, and I became a senior class president my last semester of high school, and learned a lot, loved it. And again, giving, yeah, service, and I had a financial aid counselor, Ramon Colobacchio. He was my EOP, Equal Opportunity Program counselor to get into college, right? And he helped me get into San Francisco State after high school. And so I ended up going to San Francisco State for 2 years. Was in awe of a big campus. Didn't really know what I wanted to study, right? But I did get involved in ethnic studies. I loved it. You know, had a good professor. I know Amber. She went there. She knows Dan Gonzalez, and he was kind of one of the co-heads of the ethnic studies program. Yeah, and a lot of history about Filipinos coming into America. Stockton, where Nick's from, where your husband's from, a lot of history there, and I learned that from studying ethnic studies. Didn't really finish at San Francisco State. Ended up wanting to join the Marine Corps after 2 years back in 1983, and I joined the reserve so they could pay for my college tuition, right? Because I remember my dad got laid off, and I was like, you know, even though I was getting financial aid. You know, we were independent to not depend on mom and dad, right, at the time. So went to the Marine Corps. That didn't work out well because I got hurt. I got medical discharge after about a year, and I started working full time. And then in 1985, decided that you know what, I want to take a different path in life. I want to become an aircraft mechanic like my uncles. My uncles were United Airlines employees for ever. I think they both retired from United Airlines. So 1985, my cousin and I, who their father was mechanics, were like, yeah, let's go to school. So we decided we wanted to go to aviation maintenance school, and College of Alameda was offering a program, and then College of Alameda is a junior college, right? So we enrolled because City College, they had a long waiting list, and I wasn't about to wait. So we enrolled, and believe it or not, it was a cheap education, $35 a semester. And after 2 years, you know, got a certificate in aviation maintenance. During the time when I was going to school there, I happened to walk onto the basketball program, on a basketball team, my first year, and I was about 24 maybe at the time already. And I asked the coach, because I went to the main campus to do some paperwork, and I just happened to walk in the gym, and I asked the coach, "Oh, you guys having tryouts?" He goes, "Yeah." And then I goes, "It's too late." First thing he asked me is like, "What school did you go to?" And I said, "Balboa High School." And Balboa High School was known as a basketball school, right? So he invited me to come the next day, and so I came the next. I went the next day after my classes, and lo and behold, I made the team. And I tell you what, those 2 years that I played at College of Alameda, the experience, although I was a second stringer, it didn't matter to me. Just the experience, the competitiveness of getting better every day. Because those guys, a lot of the players were from Oakland. You know, a matter of fact, my first year, the point guard Glenn King, he was a cousin of Gary Payton. He was vicious every day at practice with me. You know, I had to guard him, but that made me better mentally and physically. Made me better. Second year, same thing. I had a point guard named Gary Watson. He was only like 5'7", but I remember we played in Merced tournament one year. This guy made 9 3-pointers, and I was a second string behind him. And again, those guys, most of those guys are still my friends up to now. We're talking 1986 to 88, but we're still a good close group of friends. And as a matter of fact, they had me on a Zoom one time, but I missed out. So, anyways, during that time when I was going to school, I got a phone call from Ramon. And Ramon, remember I told Ramon was my financial counselor from high school. And full circle, he was now the executive director at Caninkip Community Center, where where we grew up as a little kid growing there. And he asked me, he said, "Hey, I want you to be one of my assistant recreation directors," because he hooked up with San Francisco Rec and Park after school program. And I was like, okay, why not? You know, part-time, $10 an hour, work at the gym, right? And so there was 2 of us. My partner ended up being Leah Mercado. You know Leah, right? And so we ran a after-school program for about 2 years over there, 88, 89, 90. And Caninkip Community House was run by the Episcopal Church. So the funding was getting from them, and then Ramon was in charge of getting grants and whatnot. There go the Soma guys. These are the original guys, the little kids. So these kids lived in the neighborhood, and some of these guys lived in the same apartments that we lived in, and our cousins and friends lived in. So it was just like, wow, this is deja vu, right? So started working there, and I remember my first day. I got off school, I went to go eat lunch, and I had me a tuna fish sandwich with a salad and a drink. I go straight to the gym, to the center, and Ramon already knew me. He didn't have to give me the whole introduction. I knew the place from way back. I'm standing in front of the gym, in the entrance of the gym, just watching the kids play, and this little kid, he's about 5th grade, 10 years old, I think, comes up to me. And just looks up at me and he goes, "Ugh, you smell like fish." I was like, "Get out of here, kid!" And he blurted out into the gym. He's like, "Hey, he smells like fish." and that stuck. It just stuck. Everybody called me Fish, and then Joe Fish, and then as months went by, years went by. I got close to the parents. A lot of these kids were latchkey kids, right? And single parent kids also, and the parents trusted me, and they started calling me. They called me Fish, Yes. I remember just walking in the neighborhood. One of the moms, Auntie Connie, she passed away already. Bless her soul. She would call me Fish.
Well, that's what I was telling you earlier. I said, "Hey, Joe, I will try my best to say your last name, but let me just figure it out." And then, and I was going to ask you, how did that Fish come about? Because, it's something that
Everybody thought that was my last name. And I go, no, that's just my nickname. Yeah. And I always tell all the guys, they're now in their 40s, I think, those guys in that picture. And those guys are, I'm going to say, some of the, if not the closest friends I have now. We're talking 30 plus years, right? And they're family, just like, Nick and Harvey and Jeff, they're family. And so that was the key there with my first day. But everything that I've become as a basketball coach, as a mentor, and having that rapport with inner city, with kids, period, not just inner city kids, even though that's who I started with. it's all derived from there. And I give props to Ramon, and I always tell the guys, if without you guys, there is no fish. There is no Joe Fish. And it came naturally to me doing it. It wasn't work. So here I am going to school to be an aviation, maintenance mechanic, trying to get my certificate, trying to work for airlines. And I found my calling. I found my calling during, haven't even finished college yet. I found my calling. These guys. And so so fast forward, Connecticut closed down because of funding. There they go. That was in 2002. First time Harvey being in the Philippines. So Connecticut closed down, and the city decided they're going to build another rec center in the area, and they did. And it opened up back in 1991 or something like that. 90, I forget. But it was a brand new gym, gymnasium. Before they would just call it. It was supposed to be called Soma Rec Center, but they named it after one of the directors. I worked there briefly for, maybe I want to say a month or two on my days off at United. Oh, I'm sorry. In 1989, I got hired with United. Okay, after I finished my schooling, and it's funny because when the guy that hired me at United, he was interviewing me, right? And at the time, I was still working at Connecticut at the rec center, I believe, already. And he says, I got a question for you. And he already hired me. He told me I'm hired, right? He goes, I got a question for you though. He goes, why do you want to work in our industry when you already got a cool job, right? And I was like, what are you guys talking? I'm like, well, because number one, it only pays $10. United was paying $14.95 starting, right? And I told him, because I went to school for it, right? And he goes, okay. And then lo and behold, he had a hidden message with that question. Because I kid you not, Mafae, my first day at United, I hated it. because if you ever been to it's called the MOC right there in San Bruno next to the airport. It says United Maintenance Operations Center, MOC. And in that place, inside those walls, it's a huge factory, right? And my first thought when I sat on my first day, you punch in, the bell rings, you punch in, you go to your workstation, your briefing, and then your workstation, you work. The bell rings for morning break, right? The horn, so you go to break. The horn blows again after 10, 15 minutes. You go back to work, right? Same thing for lunch, and then same thing to clean up and go home. And I was like, what did I get myself into, right? And I tell you what got me through these 19 and a half, about 19 and a half, 20 years at United is that I always coached after work. I kept the passion and what I found my calling in. I made sure that I always stuck to being close to that, right? So I did volunteer coaching with the guys as they got older, played in leagues. And then in summer 1995, I met Harvey's team at one of the leagues, at the summer league. And I think we played them. I forget. I think so. And then I approached the head coach. His name was Matthew Prophet after the game. And I said, hey, coach, I'm Joe, blah, blah. And I said, do you guys need help? And he's like, yeah, sure. Come on up, And even before I asked him in high school, I did another volunteer gig at a middle school called Potrero Hill. And that's where all the boys from the rec center was going to school at. And this was in 1989. So I kind of skipped that one. Anyway, so I volunteered over there. And that coach, Jeff Dollender, nice guy. He was a PE teacher. He was there. I think he retired from that middle school. Same thing. He asked me, hey, you sure you want to volunteer? I go, yeah, basketball. I want to learn how to coach again. I want to learn how to coach. I work with the kids already. And he was like, man, he goes, we haven't had a volunteer in 20 years. But I did it, and we won a championship. And that was my first gig working at a school. Second gig was working at the high school where Harvey and all the other guys were going to school, Marcus and Lorenzi. And my first year, I was a volunteer assistant, no money. And I didn't care because I was working at United already, right? And it just, I just started learning a lot of stuff. And at the time, all I did was stats. I took it upon myself to do stats just to get involved. And I made sure that, the guys were okay mentally, emotionally, because a lot of guys at that time, they want to play, but it's the head coach's call. And the second year, they hired me as a JV head coach and also assist with the varsity. And the second year, I think that was when, or maybe the second year, maybe that's when Harvey was a senior. That's when we won the championship, and that was the first championship of that school. And
wow.
And years before that, Jay Maggot used to go to that school because I think Jay was a founding student because that school just opened up in the mid early 90s. I remember because I remember watching Jay at a playoff game in City College when he was playing for that school. They made the playoffs, but they never won the championship. But Jay's a big part of that history of that school as far as the basketball program. But there's only one banner, and that's from Harvey's year. I just happened to be the assistant. I think I was the second assistant. We had another assistant, and that was very memorable, because the school, small school, it was academic new school, and they blew up, and the city was like, wow. And that school used to be a famous basketball school called Woodrow Wilson.
Right.
So fast forward, I did 2 years there. Then I left to coach at another school called Lincoln High School. Carl Jacobs, the head coach there, we knew each other from Skyline when we were coaching at Skyline Junior College together. And so he knew, I think he knew I was leaving, and then he asked me, do I want to come over and help him? So I was there from 98 to 99, or to 2000, 2 years. Same thing, assistant varsity coach and then JV head coach. And learned a lot from Carl too. And then, got to be a head coach still at the JV level. Won 2 championships with the varsity. Was able to be part of an Adidas commercial. Got me Adidas stuff. So those years at San Francisco coaching, that's where all this Joe Fish and the coaching and mentoring really took off. Yeah. And in 2000, I decided, you know what? I'm getting tired of the fog. I want to transfer to Hawaii with my job. And at the time, I was married with my first wife. I had 2 girls at the time, Joanne and Jalen. And so I said, you know what? I want to move to Hawaii because I always loved the beach and the hot weather. I remember going to Hawaii as a sophomore in high school and loved it. Matter of fact, I wanted to stay and go to school there, but my dad wouldn't let me. So now was my chance. And I think I was about 35 at the time. So I did. I put a bid in. I got it. Worked at United in Hawaii, Honolulu, for 8 years. Had my third child, Shane Boy. He was born in 2000. I didn't coach when he was a baby for about good 3 to 4 years. And once he entered into kindergarten, I started coaching again at the park right by the house. It was an open park. They call it a community center, but no gym. And coaching, kids again, my daughters and the neighborhood kids. And that was, I think, 2005, 2006. And then there was a private school that was opening up nearby also. And so I approached the headmaster and I said, look, I coach. You guys need to coach. And they go, you know what? Not right now because we're brand new school, but we are looking for substitutes, for PE. And I'm like, all right, that's my line. So I subbed for them for a whole year and still working at United, right? And 2006, 2007, they hired me full time after my first year of subbing. They offered me a PE job with the middle school and also coaching. And mind you, I was working at United at nighttime. So for 2 years, I worked 2 jobs. In the morning as a PE teacher coach, and then at night, I work at United as a mechanic. At the time, I wasn't working on aircraft anymore. I was the facilities building mechanic. So we were in charge of their building maintenance and baggage handling, what they call the belts, where your luggage go, the carousel. So we were in charge of that. So I did that for a good 2 years, working 2 jobs. And United offered an early retirement in 2008 because of all the cost cutting, right?
Right.
So I took it to mind. I had 15. Let's see. I had 15 years in. Oh, no, I had 19 and a half years in. I was 45, and the requirements was if you're 45 and you had 15 years in, you're able to take the early retirement, right? Get your free flight benefits for life, and move on. And at the time, I was working 2 jobs. I said, you know what? I think I'm going to take my early retirement and just continue my passion of teaching PE and coaching. And I did that for a good 4 years, from 2008 to 2012. Worked at the school full time over there, and started the boys program at the school. And again, we'd have the gym. And 3 years later, we won the Division II championship in Honolulu. Yeah, and same thing, small school, no gym, and that was by far the most rewarding for me because I was the head coach now. I wasn't the assistant. I had assistants now. I had 2 or 3, right? And I took a lot of pride in that. And again, I always give it to the boys, because when we won that year, we had 4 seniors, and I remember the year before I was really hard on them because I was going through some life events, and they want. As a matter of fact, they wanted to fire me. They wanted me kicked out. But we had a big meeting after that season, and then the following year, I told the 4 seniors, I said, look, this is your guys' team. Myself and the assistant, we're just here to facilitate and guide. And you know what? They took off. They took off with it, and we had a great season. We put the school on the map in Hawaii, on Oahu. I remember the principal at the time ordered 2 buses, 1 bus for the team and 1 bus for the fans to come watch our playoff games and our championship games and our state tournament games. We ended up taking 4th overall out of 8 teams in the state of Hawaii, out of all the islands, and yeah, I really enjoyed that. Following year, I coached again, and then that was it. Then we had a chance. That's at the time when I met Pavana. Pavana and I, we were both working at the school, and we decided, you know what, it's time to venture abroad. Yeah, our first gig internationally was South Korea. South Korea, and she went to a job fair, and she got offered multiple positions in different countries, but Korea was the one that we chose. The school brought us out there for 2 days to go check it out, and we were sold. Mind you, now Korea gets cold, right?
Right.
I left San Francisco because of the fog, but here we are in Korea. We ended up staying there for 3 years. Winters were brutal, 8 months, but loved the country, loved the food, loved the people, loved the students. School was awesome. Things didn't work out over there, but it is what it is. And 2015, that's how we ended up here in Singapore. Went to another job fair, Pavana. We went to Thailand, and she got multiple offers, and she got offered Singapore, the school called Chatsworth, and we've been here ever since, and we love it. And I've been lucky. I've got to volunteer coaching again at the school, and then a year or 2 later, they hired me as their coach. And even in between, I ventured off into starting Soma again, but that didn't work out. Sometimes things don't work out, and so the school just went ahead and hired me as a part-timer, right? And out of the 3 years, we won 2 championships with the boys, and I coached the boys and the girls. The girls, they're getting better, but we haven't captured a championship yet. but it's a work in progress, and I do it because I love to teach, and I love to see the growth and the development of the kids. Yeah, and then the virus hit, and
Yeah.
things happened, and my friend, he's a local Singaporean. His name is Kevin Tan. Him and I worked for an outfit out here doing outdoor education, and we both left the company, and we stayed in touch together. And right now, since the COVID hit, he was out of job, and I said, hey, I introduced him to what I'm doing, and he knew what I was doing. I said, do you want to partner up? And lo and behold, here we are, Soma Sports Singapore, and we have a meetup with Swiss Club tomorrow, hopefully, to try and do some summer camps and sessions like that, and just start from there. But our main focus will be with Chatsworth International School, because I love working with the athletic director over there. I've coached and worked with bigger schools here, but I found out bigger schools are something else. Yeah, smaller schools are better. They're more onto to making sure that things are done correctly, and then it's been great, and looking forward to doing more work for them. I know some kids are already texting my daughter Aruna saying, "Hey, when can we train with Coach Joe again?" So hopefully by July we'll kick off. I still want to come to Manila and work, help with Busa and help with Titan. Yes. And I'm hoping that things open up soon, and that way we can venture out. Matter of fact, in December we went to Laos for vacation, and I did a volunteer coaching session with the outfit out there called Lao Ballers Academy, and it's in Vientiane, Laos, and that's where Pavana was born. So I reached out to them. I did a 2-day camp, and same thing. I just love working with the kids, and they loved it. It was something different from them for them, and can't wait to do that again. So that's one of the things that we want to venture out into, going to different countries and offering clinics and sessions. Yeah. So can't wait to go to City Club.
Can't wait for you to come back. Joe, it's such an amazing story that you have. There's so many, talking points that I wanted to really expand on. But the main word that you kept mentioning, and it's something that not a lot of people, I think, see the value in it. You mentioned volunteering, interning, initiating, that interest, and you just don't know the doors and the opportunities that will open for you. And with your story, it's a clear sign that, it's very valuable. It's not always about how much you're going to get paid, how much you're going to get. No, it's about showing your quality first. And, Joe,
that's what I always try to keep focus on, that if you're good at what you do, the money will follow. Yeah.
Yes.
And we all know if your why is dollar signs, then you're bound to fail. And I learned that from you guys too. Because remember, I met you. Check this out. I told Nick. Nick knows the story. We've known about Nick since 1995. Okay, and wow. Nick playing in San Francisco Bay Area, and going to school there. And then the first time I saw Nick was at a San Francisco Pro-Am League in San Francisco back in 1995, I believe. And he was playing on a team with Jason Kidd, Gary Payton, Brian Shaw, Rex Walters, the president of the NBA G League right now, Sharif Rahim. And Nick was the tall, 6'7", skinny guy out of college. And at that game, all Nick did was rebound and pass the ball to those guys and run the floor and get his dunks or whatever. And and they ended up winning the championship. And that game they played against Sean Chambers, and I remember. And so never met Nick, personally. Fast forward to 2014, I meet you guys for the first time in Makati. You guys come over to the hotel that we're staying in, and you guys helped me with the barrio clinic on the at the street that I was a little boy in, and then Nick just retired, right? He was at that fence of retiring or not, and then just
First time.
and just seeing you guys, what you guys have become as a what I always call a power couple.
Thank you.
That's and then I always hear about you volunteering and giving up service and
Well, like you said, it's about others. It's about helping others.
Right.
I just put a note here that with your story, it was hard work equals happiness. Because when you were sharing your story, I just see this smile, I just see this glow, and I see the happiness. Because every single country you were at, you are finding the basketball court, or you were finding the recreation center, you were finding the school, so that you can help, and that is really something that people need to value, or need to know, that everyone has talents, regardless whether you can sing or not, or you can dance or be a basketball coach. If you have the power of the voice and you have the experience, you have the life story, then that's what you can share. Like there. I know, guys, fun fact, and he might get nervous now for me being honest, but he was really scared, or you were, anxious to be on the show. And 30 minutes later, I haven't said a word, and you just inspired me, and I'm sure everybody who's watching. Kevin Tan is here. Hi, Kevin. I hope to meet you one day. We're allowed to visit, but you're still doing it. Now you're in Singapore. You're about to launch your own Toma, sports. So with that, I know actions can be a domino effect. And I'm pretty sure that your children are very proud of you. Working 2 full-time jobs is not a joke. It's no joke.
I lost 20 pounds.
and at the same time, you still found I guess that was your me time. Would you say that was your me time after work, being in the basketball court, or just being there in front of the youth?
Right. The passion. That was the passion. That was the filling of the cup. Yeah, the filling of the cup. And before I forget, from 2012 to now, I couldn't have done it without my wife Pavana. I was married before. He was married before, and now that we've come together as one, I'm what they call a trailing spouse. But I've always made sure. Yeah, there she is. Took me but I always made sure that I do my own thing also. And she knows that it's the coaching, it's the kids, it's the basketball. I remember she asked me, what do I want to do? Do I want to teach or coach? I told her, what, I just want to coach. I love because coaching and teaching is the same thing anyways, right? But to teach in the school is a different story, to teach class and all that. I did it. I did it in Hawaii. I did it in South Korea. It was fun. I still have relationships with those students through social media. But at my age, at 50, what was I? I was 50 years old. I said, no, I think I just want to, 52. I just want to coach, and that's my, it's been rewarding. That's my main focus. The results have been a blessing. Love you, Fish. Dwinner. He was the youngest of the bunch. He is now an optometrist. Funny.
Thanks for tuning in, Dwin.
But anyways, I always say that winning is a bonus, and a lot of good coaches, they always say that winning is the bonus. The way you play it, the way that the way you put effort into it, either in practice or in the games, win or lose,
Mhm.
coaches are happy, you know,
Yeah.
and that's what it's about. And I had I thought I had a chance to coach in the next level. I did coach JC ball for maybe a season as a volunteer at Skyline Junior College, and was always thinking, oh, do I want to coach at the next level? Had a slight chance to work with Jimmy on with Alab 1 year, but
Mhm.
again, things didn't pan out. And you know what? Everything happens for a reason, right?
Right.
And that was a blessing because then I didn't have to leave the family, you know, because I know
Mhm.
that was a big, you know, a big roadblock for Pavana and I, like, you know, being away and then, you know, them being here and just it worked out. And I think my calling for sure is middle school and high school kids.
Mhm.
I met Coach Eric Spolestra of the Miami Heat at one of Harvey's practices 1 year. And when I introduced myself, I said, "I'm Coach Joe. I'm Harv's, you know, friend and former coach, and I coach high school in Hawaii." And he was like, "Grassroots," and that stuck to me, you know, because he's like, "So, oh, grassroots. Okay, I get it." Because I take any student athlete who's never played the game, whether they're, you know, when they've never touched the ball, whatever. But if they have the interest and the good work ethic and the attitude, I bait them and I hook them to go to play basketball.
Mhm.
And so the
Well,
grassroots.
yeah. Yeah, Joe, I just want to ask you, you know, yes, the grassroots is very important because, you know, you're introducing a new motivation to the youth. When you were young, back when you had the two jobs, what was your motivation? On what would you do when you wake up, first thing you wake up in the morning? What was your mindset like?
Mindset. Oh, okay. The tasks at hand during that, you know, for that day, and then making sure that you go through your routine of you know, getting ready, getting nutrition in, right, for energy wise in the morning. Always, you know, to play good, you got to look good, right? Make sure you got your at the time, you know, PE wear, right? Because I'm a PE teacher. I didn't have to get dressed as a teacher, a regular teacher. Made sure I had my shorts and my top and my shoes. And the kids would always joke with me like, "How many shoes do you have?" Because I would always wear different shoes, right? So that was the mindset, and it's just like playing in a game, you know.
Mhm.
You got to get your mind right, got to get your gear right, and your body right, and then boom, do it. And made sure that, yeah, the me time, you know, working out, whether it be half an hour to, you know, 15 minutes, just to get the adrenaline pumping. I remember at United for a couple of years, I had two coworkers, right? And at the time, gaming was big, right? This is like in the 2007, 2006. You know, during downtime, these guys would just play games on the computer, right? And I'm like, no, I'm going in the back and work out. And I'd bring my weights, my dumbbells, and do my push-ups and stuff. And I did that every day at night while those guys are playing games for hours. And then, you know, it is what it is. And that kept me young. And I tell you, I lost 20 pounds, yeah. And so that really helped, got me moving, you know, with more energy. Uh, at the time, I wasn't practicing martial arts since I got into coaching in the mid '90s, all the way up to 2008. I tried to get back into the martial arts, but I just never. If I start hitting the bag, I was like, nah, I don't want to do this, right? But as soon as I lost that 20 pounds, it was game on again. And I remember training again and fighting in tournaments at 49 years old and 50 years old, and being successful, you know. And again, it's just putting the work in, um,
Mhm.
and that's how, and that's the kind of motivation I tell the student athletes. And again, it's about, I always say, you're a student athlete. You're not an athlete student,
Yeah.
because some of those kids my wife teaches in English class. So, and I always tell the boys, you know, hey, I know how you guys are doing in class because the wife and I, we have our daily, you know, our daily happy hour for the afternoon, and everything is just to help the kids out to be successful. You know, it's not to degrade or to make fun of them. No, it's about, you know, how can we get these kids to like you said, to get motivated and be the best they can be. You know, I came up with a motto. You know the motto. Got to give you 100%. Got to give you 110%. Right. I always tell the kids. I think this started in Hawaii. I said, look, because in Hawaii, I had multiple student learners. You know, I had the slow learners, I had the mid-level, the intermediate, and advanced, and even in, you know, athletic-wise, right? You had the non-skilled, you know, non-athletic kids to intermediate, and then you had the athletic kids. So I would tell the non-athletic kids that, you know what, give you 100%, not my 100%, your 100%. And once I did that, a light just like ticked in their mind, and they did it. And we were teaching a IB curriculum, International Baccalaureate at the time, and in that curriculum, you're not only grading on performance, you're grading on 4 criteria, and a lot of kids are successful in some criterion, and some are not, but they're able to still pass with high marks, right? So that was something that I learned teaching, that there's a lot of different learners out there, and you got to differentiate on how to teach them and to help them get motivated and be successful. And it's worked, and I love it. I love doing that, and so, talking a lot.
Fast forward, you're still working out every day, as I can see. Is that what you've been busy with during this quarantine period?
You know what? During this quarantine period is just, it's gotten to be the creativity of trying to see how we can work around being in a house 24/7, right? The kids weren't going to school, so we had to teach them at home. I was in charge of PE for the kids, you know, started teaching martial arts more to Santi. As you know, Santi's a dancer, right? Aruna's a basketball player and everything else. And in the beginning, I started working her out, but she does stuff on her own. They've been biking a lot. And myself, yeah, I geared up on some simple equipment. And then I take cue from Harvey with his workouts with the TRX. We all motivate each other, right? And you know, it's my lifestyle. I've been doing it for so long, and at 57, I feel like I still got a long ways to go, you know, to where I really want to be. But this weekend was totally no workout weekend. So glad, so glad the pool opened up. Oh, and the park opened up again over here, so I'll be able. I do my workouts over there. And it's so different being outdoors, yeah. Because here we're cooped up. I have a little workout area in the carport downstairs. It gets hot, it's dusty, but yeah, it's a motivating factor for me to keep working out, and hopefully inspire other people, that especially my young guys back in San Francisco are like, you guys are younger than me. You guys got to get up there and work out, man. And you know, one step at a time, right? You know, and then that's my kind of like not my goal, but just trying to put it out there, because I was inspired by one of Harvey's teammates from junior college, Horace Richmond. He was doing 300 push-ups a day for a month. This was like 2 years ago.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try that. So I tried 100, and you know what? I'm going to do 200. And I did 300 for a whole month. And I used to have back problems, lower back, gone.
Yeah.
And I told Horace, I shared that with Horace. I said, Horace, you inspired me, man. After those push-ups, I moved on to pull-ups because back when I was young and I was in the Marines, we were doing pull-ups, and I remember teaching trying to help Harvey and all the other guys, Renzi and Marcus and them, doing pull-ups when they were still in high school, and it's so basic. You don't need any. All you need is a bar. All you need is a monkey bar, and that's it. And then just eating, and then as you guys see, I've gone into gardening.
Yeah.
My wife and I were lucky to get a garden plot here in the community, and we started with bok choy and lettuce, and now we're into kailan, into the blue pea. We found out we could eat the butterfly blue pea flower. It's so healthy for you, and just enjoying it. And I think when you get to about 50 or mid 50s, that's when you really start, appreciating gardening.
But you can appreciate it at any age, but yes, this time I think
And then just recently, about a month ago, since we were still in quarantine, or over here we call it a circuit breaker, I was able to get a free fish tank and fish aquaculture. Right, someone was giving it for free, and I was like, oh, I'll jump on it, because at the garden, at the community garden, there's aquaponics area where Professor Lee, he's got a big aquaculture farm there with tilapia, right? And I was like, I'm gonna try that. And I tried it for a month, but I got rid of it last week because it was getting too much. And I donated all my tilapias to Mr. Lee. He was all happy. And I'll now that we've opened up, I'll be able to help him out and follow how he does it. And that way because we had it in the balcony out here, it was getting too much. Bugs were coming. The fish poop was smelling. Although it was fun, the fish were growing, and we were growing a little bit on top of the fish, a little garden bed. But that's where I'm at now, and just we hope that by end of June, or maybe next week or mid-July, that we'll be able to travel again and see you guys in Manila. What's up, Harv? Hello, fish.
Yeah, so, hi, Harv. Thanks for tuning in. I did want to segue to, the success that you've had in your life. And one of them, of course, is being a mentor, life coach, and agent to Harvey Carey, who's still playing PBA for so many years now. We're so proud of you, Harv. So with that, being a mentor of a professional basketball player who's made it so big and a champion, what would you say to the youth, younger aspiring players, basketball players, or even young aspiring coaches? What would you share with them, your words of wisdom on how to be successful in that type of career?
Do it for the right reasons. Don't do it for the dollar signs, right? Because as we touched on it, the dollar signs will come. The dollars will come. But if you maintain the focus that you just want to help someone become successful, that will in turn, get right back to you. And you're not gonna. I'm not a millionaire, and I don't care to be a millionaire. I always refer to what Bob Marley said. Someone asked him, "Are you rich?" And he's like, "What's rich?" He goes, "You mean money?" Because I don't have money. He goes, "But I'm rich in life," and that's the bottom line. And you know what, Harvey, his work ethic, his mindset, his humbleness, and not just Harv. I'm going to touch on Jeff Carriazo, Nick, Ollie, Jimmy. Those guys, they set the bar for the future. And these guys played 10 plus years, right? And that's the goal. You don't want to go play somewhere, whether the PBA or whatever, and you just want to last 1 year. You want to be a professional, yeah. Be a professional. Yeah. Stick to your values, and your morals, and that's definitely the key. I found out that that if you do it for the wrong reasons, definitely you're gonna fail. And I think we've all done it once in our lifetime because of times, but we always go back to the basics, the basic fundamentals in life, like gardening, right? We plant our own food and we eat our own food, But basketball. I remember Nick saying, talking to the kids at one of the sessions, he told the kids, basketball has been good to me. Basketball has gotten me all over the world, and you know what? He's right, because from San Francisco to Hawaii to South Korea to Singapore to Laos, to Manila, and to wherever else next, it's just basketball has been good, but we've also made sure that we don't cheat the game, because there's a lot of different entities out there that just cheat the game, and it's sad, but hey, if that's how you flow, that's how you flow. But we're going to stick to basics and fundamentals, and the rest will follow. And the bottom line with basketball and coaching, Mafae, is the relationships. Yeah, the relationships.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the game ends. Game ends. Now what? And then don't get me wrong. A lot of times that's all we do is talk basketball.
Yeah. As a basketball player.
Yes. Yeah, but as we get older, we talk about life. We talk about your wife, talk about the kids, talk about mom and dad and whatnot, and it's just been awesome. I may live here in Singapore. You guys live in Manila. The guys live in San Francisco. But man, we're still tight, through the relationships. And I can't wait to meet Mello, my godson. Thank you for giving me the honor to be his godfather.
Thank you for accepting. And that's the reason why I wanted you to be part of this campaign. You've said so much, and I know there's many more stories, and I will have you back on, Joe. We will talk on specific topics, but this is an introduction to Joe Fish, guys. So especially the people in Singapore, watch out for his program, and I'll make sure that his social media links are part of these captions so that you can reach out to him and Kevin. And Joe's also open to answering any more questions, or if you want advice from him, because he is such a great mentor. He's such a great life coach. He has experienced so much, and those are the things I appreciate about you, Joe, the constant mentorship that you give Nick and I, especially with my husband. And I'm sure you are mentoring a lot of people, and that is why happiness for you is glowing on your face. And thank you again for taking the time out to being with us today. And guys, as Joe Fish mentioned, he is the example of actions speak louder than words. And thank you guys for tuning in on another episode of In Love With Me. Thanks, Joe.
See you guys soon.
Thank you for watching In Love With Me series.